Joining me now to talk about all of this is CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller and former federal prosecutor and senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. Are you guys sick of talking about this already?
No.
I mean,
this is
unprecedented.
This is the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is.
It's the Super Bowl. Joining me now, opinion editor of Newsweek and host of the Josh Hammer Show, my friend Josh Hammer. All right, everyone has a take today, Josh. Understandably, it's kind of one of those big things that you could say are probably a seminal moment in the country. What's yours?
Jesse, I'm not sure how much I could add, but look, this is a genuine, unprecedented crossing of the Rubicon. It is a point from which America will never return. There have been any number of prior presidents in United States history who have done any number of terrible things in their private life and their public life. Does the name Bill Clinton come to mind? I mean, think back to John F. Kennedy in the 1960s. His father was a bootlegger for the mafia during Prohibition. I mean, you can go back to the 19th century, the 1800s if you want to as well. Any number of presidents have had checkered private and public lives, and yet, until today, no former president has actually been criminally indicted in a dog and pony show that benefits one half of the country, and they're cheering and applauding like they are on CNN. But this is a very, very, very dark moment for the United States. Look, the actual charges here, to call them legally frivolous, I think would be a dramatic understatement. I mean, and bear in mind also, Jesse, based on the falsification of business records, New York State misdemeanor, there's a 2-year statute of limitations built in. This thing would have expired in 2018. Then there's a federal campaign finance law violation, allegedly. That had a 5-year statute of limitations. It would have expired in 2021. So this is a bogus prosecution, to put it mildly. It is a pure political persecution, and it's total BS. We should not stand for it.
Okay, Josh, so it's all crap. I know that you know legal stuff a lot better than I do. It's past the statute of limitations. So that prompts somebody like me, as an uneducated person, to ask, how's this possible then?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I have actually asked some, a number of my friends from law school. I mean, this is not supposed to happen. Like this literally is not supposed to happen. But think about where this grand jury is. This is New York County, New York. This is Manhattan. The people there voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump at an 85 to 90% clip or something like that. I think the specific precinct that the court is even higher than that. It was literally well over 95% of the votes went to Joe Biden there. So these people don't give a damn. They frankly just do not give a damn, from Alvin Bragg all the way down, arguably up to and including Eric Adams, the mayor, who was Alvin Bragg's superior. They don't give a damn about things like the statute of limitations. It's pure Joseph Stalin, Jesse. Stalin famously said, "Show me the man, I will show you the crime." That's what Alvin Bragg is doing here, notwithstanding the fact that his own predecessor, Cy Vance Jr., who's a Democratic hack as well, looked at what's happened here and he decided not to prosecute it. But they don't give a damn about such legal niceties like a statute of limitations.
Okay, you have a few theories as the why in all this. What are they?
Well, I can only speculate, obviously, because it is so utterly ludicrous, legally speaking, politically speaking, socially, civilizationally. I mean, one thing that comes immediately to mind is Alvin Bragg is doing this for Alvin Bragg. He probably will get a nice, shiny book deal out of this. He'll probably be all over CNN, MSNBC. Probably some stupid top 10 law school will give him a criminal law professor gig. He'll probably teach some seminar in criminal law for all the heroic justice that he has done. So he stands to gain here, no doubt about that whatsoever. It's possible, of course, that he has people whispering in his ear, Eric Adams. It would frankly not surprise me if all the way up to the federal Department of Justice. Obviously, that should not happen. There's a federal department, there's a state. They should not be talking to one another. But in a situation like this, it simply would not surprise me if you had anyone up to and including maybe even the attorney general or the head of the FBI or someone talking to Alvin Bragg to apply some pressure there. But, Jesse, the other obvious thing here is that just like after the Mar-a-Lago raid last August, which was also another crossing of the Rubicon, a visceral, shocking moment in the country's history in its own right, just like that, this has an obvious rally around the flag effect for Donald Trump. He has shot up in the 2024 polls. He's been able to fundraise millions and millions of dollars off of this. And you obviously have to ask yourself whether this was part of why they're doing this all along. I mean, does the capital R regime, so to speak, from Merrick Garland all the way down to Alvin Bragg, Are they not concluding that because they defeated Donald Trump in 2020, they would prefer to get Republicans to nominate him than to defeat him again? I don't think that's conspiratorial. I think it's a very fair question to ask, to be honest.
Okay, now let's deal with the actual legal process here, because it's a sham. It's a sham. We all know it's a sham. But and again, you're the legal mind. I am not. Doesn't this mean if he's being arraigned here that he is most likely going to be tried here? Is there going to be a trial? And are they going to pick a 12-man jury pool with Trump on trial for a felony out of a 90% Democrat district? Is Donald Trump going to prison, is what I'm asking?
He's not going to go to prison. I mean, I feel very confident in asserting that. This process is going to take time. It's going to be a slow thing. We're not going to have answers to these questions tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of cross-motion filing from the attorneys here. Trump has spoken about trying to move the venue out of Manhattan to Staten Island, which is the only of the 5 boroughs in New York City that is anywhere even close to politically mixed. It's probably his only shot of getting a possible fair jury. You know, you could always get something like this possibly dismissed, whether it's on summary judgment or some other kind of legal criteria, which is basically a nice way of saying that there is no actual case here. Frankly, I mean, based on what I remember from my law school days, Jesse, the statute of limitations should just answer that question, period. So again, I'm not sure what I'm missing there. I don't think I'm missing anything. So a reasonable judge really should just dismiss it out of the gate based on something as prosaic and straightforward as that. You obviously could potentially get a plea deal, but Trump's lawyers don't seem particularly inclined to take a plea, and Trump himself does not seem particularly inclined to get a plea. So if all of that fails, if there's no kind of moving of the venue to Staten Island or to some other outer borough, if it's not dismissed on summary judgment or some other grounds, and there's no plea deal, then yeah, at that point you could potentially get to a jury. And worst case scenario for the president, some absolutely leftist, Stalin-esque nutjob jury in Manhattan finds him guilty on these trumped up, no pun intended, charges. Worst case scenario, he probably still prevails on appeal, but this could be going on a while. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if this were still kind of going on when we turn towards next year on the calendar and we gear up towards the Iowa caucuses, to be honest.
Okay, is this the last indictment he's going to face?
I don't know, but Alvin Bragg has been the first person now to indict, and he has set a precedent that others could easily follow. In a situation like this, Trump, of course, is under investigation in Georgia for his somewhat infamous phone call to the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, in the aftermath of the 2020 election. We have this whole January 6th kangaroo court committee with Loopy Liz Cheney and all of that, and they've issued their recommendation for indictments to Merrick Garland and the DOJ. And then, of course, finally, you have the classified document retention scandal, which was the Mar-a-Lago raid. I don't think they will indict on the classified documents. If the news cycle moves so fast these days, Jesse, but it was only fairly recently that Joe Biden had his own classified document trouble. So I would think they probably won't go down that rabbit hole. But when it comes to Georgia or January 6th, I mean, we could see some other indictments. I just want to clarify here, all of these for independent reasons are frivolous. None of these have actual legal merit to them. The January 6th stuff is utterly insane as well, only slightly less insane than what we're seeing here in Manhattan, New York today. But yeah, I think it's eminently possible that once Alvin Bragg has set the precedent, that these other district attorneys and Merrick Garland, of course, with January 6th could definitely follow.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, the history of FBI scandals, and America's worst presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.